Hi, welcome to If I Did It, a show where we analyze and solve pure kerfuffles from MMA world and beyond. Oh, the mists. They're calling.
The encroaching mist.
They're calling, yes. I'm your host, Alexiol, and joining me as always is Eugene S. Robinson from Aussie.com and author of Fight Everything Everyone Know Asking, but afraid you get your ass kicked for asking. And Kid Nate.
Kid Nate from the Brady Bunch house.
I'm coming from an undisclosed location deep in the heart of Trump country.
also known as the Brady Bunch. There's a story of a man named Nate.
Well, I can tell you this for a fact. There's at least one well-armed redneck who wants to kill me within a 2-mile radius of my location, so I can't, and I'm not kidding about any of that. So, anyway.
Nate, that's not saying much because I want to kill you.
Well, you know, you're much further away.
That's true.
Oh, you haven't threatened to kill me other than this instance in the air. So, here we go.
Well, speaking about threats, Eugene, you're WME-IMG. After Conor McGregor made history with a 2-title gate-breaking Madison Square Garden performance, he announced his hunger for a slice of your pie. Yeah. Quote, I need to be set for life with this. If you want me to be truly in on this, then I need to be all in this proper. As owner, have an equity stake in the company, end quote.
Yep.
With Thanksgiving approaching, do you offer him a seat at your table, the kiddie table, or under the table eating your crumbs?
No, this is the new boss, totally different from the old boss. You know what? This is all about, say, a nice doggy till you get your hand on the rock. And if your hand is not on the rock, you fucking deal. If it's public, it doesn't make a difference. If it's public, if it's even better for you. He chose his spot well. You choose your spot well, make it public, because not everybody can come in there and demand that kind of money, demand that kind of equity. So, you know, it's how many times are they going to have to do the payout? Now, instinctively, the bald one and the Fertitas would have said, no, we're not going to be shoved around in public. Next thing you know, everybody's going to be. That's the difference between a bad boss and a really, really fucking good boss. A really good boss wants to squeeze every ounce of blood out of you until you've outlived your usefulness, and then it's trash binned. You know, this guy, what, you got nothing to lose. He's 100% right. Give it to him, because it's not like you got 10 guys beyond. Who else is going to demand that? Cerrone? Oh, Cerrone is like the guy. Is like the guy in the fucking, what is, not Mephisto or the Conformist. Like in Solo, Pierre Pasolini's movie. He's like the guys who play along, and then at the end of the movie they say, we're gonna give you the pain of hell, and they'll shoot them all. He's like, oh man, I played along, and it's I get the bullet. And then Cerrone would be the other type. Was now I'm going to get the pleasures of heaven. And the pleasures of heaven.
Foul.
What?
I got to call a foul. You had a chance to do a Nazi reference and you dropped the ball. Ernst Rome.
You didn't let me finish.
Ernst Rome. That's all. You can go back. You can finish. I'm just the flags on the field. Ernst Rome.
I'll let you finish.
Yeah, you know what? You got to, what is that thing? Interrupted play, pass interference. That's pass interference.
Let's look forward, not back. Finish your comments.
Well, another thing, too, is we're going to deal with this question a little later. But go on ahead, Eugene, if you want
to. So anyway, they've got to, it's not going to be Cerrone. It's not going to be any. I mean, I can't think of anybody else who could demand it. I mean, Johnny Boney Joni, like the D-Man said, is like the perfect celebrity, because he's completely at their. He's got to do what they. It's like fuck you. We won't do what we tell you. Fuck you. You're going to do what I tell you. He's a champion without cachet. So the McGregor is a kind. It's trouble that any organization would love to have. Give him an equity stake. What going to give him 2 points? You're not going to give him as much as you gave Ben Affleck? Are you fucking kidding? Do it. It's good PR, and do it publicly, and all that shit, all that talk about unionize, which I think was a red herring bullshit Manchurian candidate Cerrone trying to flush people out. All that stuff will fall by the wayside. What's 2 points to you?
Right. So what do you think, Nate?
Agree completely, and make it public. And the more you make it public, the less actual share you have to give him. Because, not to be racist here, but McGregor's Irish. If you make a big show of appreciating him, you can really just fuck him hard under the table. I mean, that's just, he's front back. Just bring him on the stage, give him some stock shares all printed up big and shiny. It's just like the guy in Catch 22, Milo Minderbender, who was running
what's good for M&M Enterprises is good for America.
Yeah, he says everyone has a share. And then when the Yossarian finally asks him for a share, Milo gets a piece of paper, writes down a share, and hands it to him.
Well, it's also like Jay-Z with the Nets. When Jay-Z kept on bragging and boasting, the Nets are mine, and I'm going to get LeBron, I'm going to get these free agents, and he's very front and center, the poster child for the franchise. He's making the big money. And then when it's revealed the fraction of a share or a percentage that he has near the end, you realize, oh, damn. Man, that was a really good investment that the Brooklyn Nets made. Yeah. So it kind of
OPM, baby. OPM. Other people's money. Fuck that.
That's right.
You know? I mean, so, and the reality of it is, like, Nate goes one dark step further than I would if you got you screw him under the table. Yeah, you know, a little appreciation goes a long way. I remember somebody saying, if you do business in Italy and you start waving contracts at people, you're going to get fucked. But if you start to say, hey, I thought we had a relationship, the guy will start crying, pay you all the money, take you home. His mother will cook you dinner, and that is 100%. That is 100% dead on. You know, so I mean, this guy, you don't even have to get to the screwing part. Give the guy 1 point, 2 points. Make it a big deal, because nobody, who else is gonna run in there and demand the same deal? The Trump guy here just said, "Oh, I think McGregor's crazy." That is crazy as a fucking fox.
Well, also becomes a poster child for other fighters. Like, hey, look, you want what Conor got?
Yep.
Bring us the numbers.
Show up in a Diana Ross dress with a silver platinum wig. I keep pushing this. Nobody's
You better watch if I did it, baby.
It's not even that. Watch the mechanics are irrelevant. Eugene's looking in the past, as he always does, being old and such like, and so he's looking for things that work in the past. Look for what's working right now. Conor's coming out in sharp, really tailored suits. He's got the coolest cars. He's living the life that other fighters want to live, that fans want to see somebody live, because they want to live that life, or at least fantasize about that life he's living.
Yeah. And for those of you, go ahead.
Just so become the guy that people want to be.
And also, and they were talking about all the clones that are walking like him, dressing like him, strutting around the, MSG. And the reality of it is, what they don't realize, what the cheap seats don't fucking realize, what the Trump voters don't realize, is that this is fronting as hard as a person could possibly front. Because once you get to a certain level of celebrity, you're not paying for any of that shit. He's not paying for that fucking mink coat. He's not paying for any of that stuff. They're giving it to him for free. But Leonard Part 6 is one of the worst movies ever. And yet, Porsche somehow got involved in the movie, and they gave Cosby a custom-made fucking orange Porsche, Custom-made orange Porsche.
Watch your back.
Yeah. Oh, he heard you. He heard you. He's gonna find some room between the other knives he's putting back to put one more.
So much nice space and options right here on this back.
Like Octave Mirbeau said, some backs cry out for the knife. That's my big concern.
But you know what though, Eugene, I'll utilize a professional wrestling reference, right? If you look at Ric Flair. Back in the day, and who Conor McGregor has jacked a lot of this stuff from, right?
Or Gorgeous George before.
Or Gorgeous George, yes. But what I'm saying with Ric Flair is, you're talking about characters that were created to tap into the resentment of middle America and the working man, right?
It could be Trump.
Working woman, the working man. No, right. So in terms of Ric Flair, so at the end of the day, they would always, especially in Texas with World Class, they would have the oil industry tanked. So the bad guys became people that had oil money and dressed in sharp suits and rub it in your face. And then Ric Flair had a similar dynamic, like, look at my Rolex. I'm hanging out with Pat Riley of the Knicks. Look at this. Look at the of the Lakers. Look at this Lakers outfit I got from. Look at this thing. Look at so-and-so. And he's just rubbing it in your face. And what happened was surprising to a lot of people is that brand became the brand of excellence. And you'd have people that were broke as hell coming to wrestling tapings in suits, trying to dress like him, trying to act like. It's the same thing you're explaining with Conor McGregor. And so I think there's something that people need to take, pay attention to, this time-tested notion of not wanting to be like your reality, but wanting to escape and aspire to something that you're not.
Yes. You know what Hitler said? Hitler said that the nature of the masses,
we know you do.
Yes, the nature of the masses are are essentially feminine, you know, that you must seduce them, that you must, you know, and they're easily swayed, their emotions. And I'm saying this for those of you who are confused about things. I'm saying that Hitler said this. Like, I don't know that it's any better, but essentially, I mean, this is what he is making love to the audience. And I think actually to be effective, you got to, unlike Kid Nate here, Kid Nate, who believes that I am perpetually retro fixated, I say the next wave is to counter that wave, right? You know, I mean, we remember, you know, Run DMC, and then we remember the guys with the Arrested Development, right? You know, so there's always got to be a yin to the yang. So what's the next step? You know, is it going to be the problem is it's easier to sell McGregor than it is to sell, like, think about Johnny Boney Joni when he first started. They asked him at the press conference after he beat Stephen Bonner, what are you going to do now? He goes, I'm going to go out into the woods and commune with nature. Now, if that were only true, that would have been legitimate, like Jonathan Brookins, you know, or the cat who lives in Peru in the Andes, that fighter whose name I can never remember, you know. He's like, man, it's a spiritual,
or the pygmy fighter.
Yeah, it's a spiritual journey, and I just, you know, you have to sell something new. Yeah. Selling McGregor to people who already have McGregor is probably not going to work for you unless you're to the manner born. You know, Chael could pull it off.
And one caveat with the Jones thing, and it's got to be something that's true to you so you can pull it off.
Right.
Exactly.
You know,
exactly.
It might not be completely true of you, but you've got to be able to hold to it enough.
You got to get close enough.
Yep. Well, that's what they say is the best in terms of going back to wrestling. The best gimmicks are those gimmicks that are close to who the actual the performer is in real life. So if you have a person that is a bon vivant in real life or has those tendencies,
kind of like me,
ramp it up to 100. If you have a person that is just a slob, ramp that up. I mean,
kind of like me.
Characters.
And one caveat: Hitler's right about the masses being feminine, and never forget, hell hath no fury like a woman's.
Yes. Yes, good
point. Left a woman hanging on the edge of her bed, you don't waste your time ever calling her again.
You're going to be hanging too.
Yourself up, and you've dissed her. Doors are closed and
lots of places she can go for bad sex.
Yes, yes. And so if you turn on that crowd, if you leave that crowd, if you scorn the crowd, it's not that you can turn on the crowd. You can turn on the crowd again and again.
Right.
If you scorn them and show contempt for them and basically cease to entertain them, then they're done with you. And John Jones, frankly, has ceased to entertain or amuse a lot of people.
Which is the thing. You can also, if you're smart enough, you can plot out every step of the way. Like, I'm seeing, you know, eventually when McGregor gets, I was friends with this porn star chick, and she had been like 38 double D's, and she goes, and I go, oh, she's uncomfortable. And she goes, you know, no, when I retire, when I'm done with this, go to the doctor, I get him removed, I go to the supermarket, nobody knows anything. You know, I could be done with it. So when McGregor says, you know what, I'm done with the motley, I'm done with the, you know, the monkey shit, I'm done. So what he does is he pulls off James Dean, last 5 minutes of giant, beautifully decadent, you know, wastrel, and then he just floats off into the sunset and lives in Dublin and counts his money. There's no personal income tax. I don't know if that's still true, that there's no personal income tax in Ireland.
I believe it is.
Apparently he loves living in Ireland. I love Ireland too. It's not like England where if you make it, they all hate you. You know, that guy's never buying another drink in Ireland again. It'd be a great place to be. Now, he could easily live the rest of his life doing straight blast and going on Vision Quest and whatever. And in 10 years, he might want to do exactly that. I guarantee you, he's thought about it. He's thought about how this is playing out.
I'd love to go to Ireland and let the Irish people prove me wrong. My mind is open. All the free drinks, all the great food I've heard about, all the hospitality. I'm here. I'm skeptical of the Irish, but prove me wrong if I come.
No.
That's my challenge.
No, you shouldn't be.
I like that.
No, even kayfabe, son. You're messing up the joke.
Exactly. You have to prove him wrong. You have to show him. Show him that Irish love.
Okay.
Yeah, show me that famous Irish hospitality. I'm skeptical. All right.
Speaking about skepticism, Nate, you're a UFC fighter. Conor wants equity. Cowboy Cerrone wants to unionize. How do you publicly get what you want?
Win some fucking fights. Get on social media and win some fucking fans. That's how you get it. There's nobody in the UFC right now that's worthy of holding Conor McGregor's shoes. That's just the facts. Ronda Rousey, if she can win her next fight, she's right back there.
Hey, buddy.
No, seriously. If she can win this fight, she can sell narratives of comeback and redemption. Right. She's already bigger than Conor in overall terms. Her fights were bigger than Conor's fights. Her social media presence, her media presence is bigger than Conor's ever did, because she's ultimately telling a story about feminine triumph and a woman triumphing in a man's world. Yeah. And I know Trump won the election, but you're not rolling all that shit back. There's a lot of women out there.
But you're like Dave Chappelle said, man, or Chris Rock. If the country was 55% black, Flavor Flav.
Yeah, blah blah blah. But there's a lot of women who've trained a lot of jujitsu. Let me talk, Eugene. This is a message to my seriously. This is a message.
Tape this, everybody.
Yeah, this is a message to all my Trump supporting friends who think they can get on the subway and start talking shit to women and doing shit that they used to do in the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s. A lot of those gals been training some jiu-jitsu. A lot of those gals went out and got their concealed carry permit. A lot of those girls are packing mace and pepper spray and truncheons, and they ain't putting up with your bullshit. So you're not putting Ronda Rousey back in the box. The Ronda Rousey era is not over. It's just like the marijuana thing. Trump winning did not make marijuana illegal. In fact, Texas Republicans are running to the State House right now today to propose bills to legalize marijuana more. So not every tide can be rolled back. I mean, not every fucking tide can be rolled back, Trump, Eugene. I mean, I know you
not Trump, Eugene.
I know you Nazis are out there thinking you won, but this ain't Hitler 1933, and we don't know what's going to happen. We're going to make our own future. If the Trump pansies overplay their hand, there's going to be a big backlash. And Rousey's fortunes are irrelevant to the Trump thing. If she wins this fight, she's a fucking enormous superstar again. Enormous.
How dare you talk about your fellow Americans that way?
45 types of different types of fucking crazy, because Nate is seeing that's an ash, and that's a cedar, and that's a pine, and that's a conifer. No, Nate, it's a forest. It's a forest. I have one thing to say, and I'm not even disagreeing with you. I am not even disagreeing with you, but I want you to go back. I want you to get some tape, and I want you to look into her eyes. Look into the soul of Ronda Rousey.
No, I'm not saying, you're misinterpreting me. Right. I'm not saying Ronda will do it or that she can in a cosmic sense. I'm just saying if she could win the fight. As a PR guy, I'm not the fighter guy.
Yeah, right.
Okay. Tell you, win your fight, and this and that, and this will happen. That's all I'm saying.
Well, I'm saying
for these other fighters. For GSP has some potential. Just a little bit, just a few drops in the washcloth left, because we know he's shot as a great fighter. Now, is he shot as a good fighter? Oh, no. Is he shot as an entertaining fighter? Well, it's been a long time since he was an entertaining fighter. But, this is a guy who changed from a very entertaining fighter with a high-risk approach to a very successful but not as entertaining fighter with a low-risk approach. What he needs to do is pick his fights right.
Which is Conor McGregor does a great job of, in actual fact.
Yeah. Notice he didn't challenge Tyron Woodley for that third belt, despite me begging him to.
Everybody's begging him to, and that is actually, and if you think about the scenario, that's the money fucking fight.
It is the money fight, and it's a question of how much McGregor wants to risk himself, his health.
But here's the thing, Nate. Here's the thing. When you talked about GSP and in terms of exciting fights and the exciting fights at the edge of the seat, I will interject this, and this is the reason why, one of the reasons allegedly why he dropped out when people look at the numbers. You will always have an entertaining fight, regardless of one person's ability to put on an entertaining fight, as long as you have an opponent that has one punch knockout power, and you have moments on your seat where you're waiting to see whether or not that person with the one punch knockout power can pass the guard. It's not going to stay on the ground all the time. Once they're stood up, are they going to survive it? I will tell you, I found the Condit GSP fight exciting. I find a lot of Condit fights exciting because you never know when that one kick or punch is going to come through and change everything. So in terms of GSP, with his choice, right, he can get an exciting fight. but it's going to be at his peril.
And he also needs to get more than an exciting
That's the weird dynamic. That's the weird dynamic that awaits him.
It's got to be
how excited do you want to be?
Exciting opponent for him.
Right.
And that's why I think Anderson Silva
with exciting damage to him. That's the scary thing.
But exciting opponent before the fight. People have got to hear. Oh, GSP and who?
Yeah.
GSP and Anderson Silva will put butts in seats. I guarantee it, because a lot of fans were fans in the GSP and Anderson Silva eras who've tuned out, who missed their last few fights, and when they hear, oh, GSP and Anderson Silva, I've thought about that fight 100 times. I will buy that pay-per-view. From there, those two guys can handle it from there. I mean,
and the reality of it is, if you what you were saying about Condit is actually compelling, because though the guy he's got this great kind of bifurcation where if you want to talk about exciting fights, his name might make that list, but if you want to talk about the list that includes exciting fighters, you would never put his name on that list. So how does that come out in the wash? You know, GSP against Anderson Silva, yeah, that's an exciting fight, but not because of GSP.
No, there's still fans of GSP. Lots of people are going to be excited about seeing GSP.
Depends on which GSP shows up, but I'm guaranteeing you.
But there's GSP, people in Quebec GSP will always be the guy who karate kicked Matt Hughes into oblivion, and he's got a huge fan base that's never forgotten the exciting GSP.
Okay,
I've never forgotten the exciting GSP.
So let's go. So you brought up the GSP thing. You brought up Ronda in terms of the options.
But other
let's go to like the ones that are not in that.
It's win fights. It's build your audience. It's not all media manipulation. At the lower levels, it's still social media aggregation, and it's building buzz, building fights, do interviews with the smaller websites, do live videos on Facebook, get your name out there and tell a story and look for fights. If you don't
think WME is looking at that, you're crazy.
If what?
Right. If you don't think WME is looking at that kind of shit.
But fuck WME. Fundamentally, you're working for the fans. You're not looking just to please your bosses. You're looking to get fan attention.
But you please your bosses when you get fans and you care about fans. So that's the thing.
Once you have that mass audience, then you're Conor McGregor. And then you're ultimately, because the whole card Conor McGregor has is twofold. One, they don't have any more Conor McGregors on the shelf. Two, if Conor McGregor really wants to do it, he can have a 3-year scorched earth legal battle with them and fight Floyd Mayweather at the end of the day in a pay-per-view that will sell gazillions of dollars. It won't be as big as Mayweather Pacquiao. It might not be as big as other things he could have done with WME because of the time delay and because how much older Floyd will be at the end of it. But it will sell, and it will set him for life just as much as shares in WME, except it's not equity. I mean, it's a one-time pile of cash. But he's got that option. He really could put on a pay-per-view with Floyd Mayweather versus Conor McGregor. He might get his ass kicked in a boxing ring. He would get his ass kicked. But he would make so much money, it's a real thing. They could put on that fight, and it would be bigger than any fight Conor McGregor could ever get in the UFC.
Well, speaking of real things and fights, Eugene, you're Eddie Alvarez. After losing your title to Conor McGregor on Saturday night, explain the PR strategy for going on Instagram today and posting that you, quote, blew it. I did nothing. I did the complete opposite of what we planned on a daily basis for 10 weeks, end quote. So explain why you did that.
Well, finish the full statement. He said, I trained to wrestle and to move to my right. I moved into his power, and I didn't wrestle.
So, go ahead. Eugene, since you heard the voice, your inner voice is Eddie Alvarez, why did you emit that instead of silently suffering?
For the same reason, we've all seen that motion picture where they tell the guy, let's call that motion picture Raging Bull. And it's you want to get the big money fights, you got to play ball. You got to work with us. It's a business you work with. You go out there and you fucking take a dive, right? And so he goes, and pride starts biting a little bit. And so he's on the ring getting hit. He's telling the guy, come on. And then he does his theatrical fall, and people start booing because it seems like a fix. It's like, I'm not saying that's what happened. Let's be very fucking clear. I don't want half of Ireland sending me comments and stuff like that. But what I'm saying is that sometimes, and this is where guys like Manson get the big ride, sometimes it's the power of suggestion. It's the institutional will. It's like they say in Apocalypse Now, even the jungle wanted him dead. Even the fucker, I mean, you don't have to be a genius to know, really, it doesn't serve anybody to have fucking Alvarez win. Not anybody. So he beats McGregor, and what? Is there gonna? Does anybody want to see a fucking rematch? I guess it depends on the style in which he beat him, but Alvarez was never going to bring that style to bear. Never going to bring that style to bear. So, and if that's the case, you know, and he's getting, people are saying, what, $200,000 for this fight? And that's what McGregor was alleging, that he was getting the same thing he get the last fight. A lot of money for a guy from Philly. Maybe he got more, you know, 250 with the Reebok buy-in.
Surely they gave him a pay-per-view bonus bigger.
Hey, they gave him it's a big fucking 25 minutes for dude. And well, yeah, of course they didn't go to all 25 minutes, but you know, it's a big. I mean, what he's saying is, I didn't try. Don't know why. Oh well.
No, that's unfair, man. He's trying to figure out what happened. And I think that on a certain level with the power suggestion thing, you're absolutely right. I think you're wrong with the fight throwing thing, but I do think a moment happened where Eddie Alvarez walked in the cage prepared, presumably physically capable of beating Conor McGregor if he fights his right fight. But he's in the moment and he blinked and he failed. Because he couldn't implement his strategy. He didn't even try to implement his strategy.
He didn't try. You get put down 5 times the same way, you're not fucking trying.
Yeah, and I'm not saying he didn't try to win the fight. He just didn't try to implement his strategy, which was the key to his winning the fight. So
Chad Mendes said it out there. He completely ignored the weight of history.
And Alvarez knew that. But, you know, knowing something in your rational mind and knowing it in your animal brain that's actually fighting in the cage are two different things. And
like the first Hendo Bisping fight where he kept on circling into the fist.
Yeah, yeah. And so as far as after the fight, he's got nothing to lose. He lost everything. He got humiliated. I mean, he got humiliated in front of the biggest audience that will ever see him fight. Yep. And they saw not only was he not at his best, he wasn't even good. He looked like absolute shit and got humiliated as if he was nobody, as if he was nothing.
You know? He was closer to his home, too. That's the thing also.
Yeah,
like, we're not talking about he's on the West Coast. You know.
Yeah, and New York City.
And McGregor put a nice little period on the end of that sentence when he goes, he shouldn't have even been in there with me.
Yeah.
And he was that Alvarez who showed up should not have been in there with him.
And he was right there in the camera shot too. That's the wild thing is he was totally in the camera shot the entire time he was talking about him.
And
I'm not saying that it was a fucking work. You're saying that I'm saying I
know. But some people are going to hear that it's a fucking work.
No, I didn't say that. Yeah.
We're talking to an MMA audience. This is one of 3 places, middle school, prison, MMA fans, where everything you say has to be understood by the stupidest person listening. That's all. So
then we're sunk.
People.
Then we're sunk.
Exactly. But some people can understand our crazy nuance and satirical nonsense.
Our fans can. The guys that watch our show, the guys and girls. That's why they watch our show.
Or bravely sticking to. But the thing is, Eddie Alvarez in the gym is worthy to fight Conor McGregor in the gym or on the street or wherever. It's this mystique of Conor McGregor he couldn't handle, you know? Like
I don't know if I saw that, man. I saw them. I mean, he seemed to be enjoying himself thoroughly in the pressers.
Alvarez.
It didn't seem like he crawled into his head. If I'm going to say there's anything that, like I said on Knuckle Up, I think if there's a distorting factor, I'm going to credit the distorting factor of huge buckets of cash. I mean, none of us have that experience. Like tomorrow, somebody's going to give me a check for whatever. You know, man, $600,000. Man, you don't think that would fuck you up?
Yeah.
That would fuck me up. I wouldn't be able to think straight. So.
Yeah, no. Back to this. I know money fucks me up. I've learned that lesson the hard way. It doesn't have much money. But Alvarez, as far as coming clean and saying his experience of the fight, he's got nothing to lose. Why not be honest? And MMA fans who view that as excuses are just like, well, look, assholes, you put on the gloves, you get in the cage and see what kind of excuses you come out with.
Oh, I thought that was complete honesty.
Absolutely.
Is there anybody doubting that he was?
Oh yes. Oh yeah. MMA fans, as soon as you lose a fight and you come out with an explanation.
All right. Look, there's a fundamental difference between what Alvarez did and what a Chris Weidman did.
Yes. God, you hate that guy.
No, I don't. My heart bleeds for him. Sorry.
You know what I thought was so wild about the fight was, and I tweeted this, was that Weidman fight was for the rest of the evening, whenever you just had forgotten about the violence and the goose stepping and the saluting, right?
It wasn't Nazi goose stepping, though. It was Russian goose stepping.
No, I know, but it was like the thing he did was
ignorant fans, though. Ignorant fans. Cuba marches like that. The Cuban Communist Army marches like that. That's what y'all was doing.
After witnessing a person who, other than Khabib, right, totally took our advice to heart in terms of not just delivering an entertaining finish, but post-fight theatrics with that translator. Oh my God, that translator! Please bring that heel translators. If you have fighters that are boring in the post-fight, bring in a translator who looks freakish, who has a stereotypical accent, who's machoing it up. Have that dude do it.
And what y'all did with the goose stepping and the because he was doing a visual pun, soldier of God.
Right. Yes. Yes.
Those two things piss off so many liberal fans that
and he thankfully didn't mention God at all, so it was pretty
but he went in there and did the whole thing.
But he minded.
There's nothing wrong with that, and also the whole thing. But it's messaging, right? When he said, "I love you, Michael. I love you," like that is a part of the whole, oh, I'm a Christian. I love you even though you hate me. I love you. Love, 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 love.
Hey,
so it's that kind of stuff.
Somebody explained to me, sorry to get us off track a bit, because I was watching it with a bunch of loudmouths, why they were booing Khabib.
Because he said the audience was full of Irishmen, and he was basically coming out there and saying everything short of the potato famine was the greatest thing that ever happened. He was calling him chicken. When he was saying the chicken, he was talking about McGregor.
I couldn't hear any of that.
Yeah, Khabib was essentially coming out there and saying McGregor is ducking me, and he was saying
it was a full straight up the closest thing. I was thinking about this, and in front row Brian posted it. I was like, oh my God, on the same page. It was total Iron Sheik. Like 1984, 83, like Madison Square Garden, anti-Hulkamania. Like he was straight up there. He had his wig on. He was like, who's number one? Who's the best? Joe Rogan, you number one announcer. You watch these fights. Who the best? Who get the title shot? Right? And then he said, you do Khabib. He's like, that's right. In Ireland, 6 million people. Russia, 130 million people. You chicken. You chicken.
Yeah.
You know what?
I'm humble. He kept saying, I'm humble. You know me. I'm humble. You chicken. It's like, it was
another factor with the Khabib thing, have you seen the viral video that Snoop Dogg shot of himself watching Khabib destroy Michael Johnson? And you can tell that Snoop, like any American black guy, is rooting for the American black guy because people root for the people like him. It's not racism, it's identification. That's one of the things. We've identified racism as the worst thing you can possibly be. Fuck that. Murder is the worst thing you can possibly be.
Easy.
Racism leads to all kinds of shit. But my fucking point is, we use racist as a substitute for the worst thing you can possibly be, and that backs all kinds of people who are racist but can overcome it. I know lots of racist people who voted for Obama in 2008, and they switched to Trump. But you make that the worst thing you can possibly be, and that opens up all kinds of avenues. Well, maybe I am the worst thing you can possibly be. But so when Khabib does that nationalist thing, so back to the Snoop Dogg thing. So when Snoop's identifying with Michael Johnson, but he's watching him get his ass kicked, and you can hear him falling in love with Khabib. He's like, he's talking to Michael Johnson at first, but pretty soon, by the end of it, he's talking to Khabib. That's my new man. That's my new man, because he's like talking to Michael Johnson, dude, you're getting jumped. It's like you're getting jumped by 6 niggas. I mean, it's just like, it's just
but a couple of things.
First of all,
I'm going to say rape. I'm going to say I would put rapist on the top of my
sure, whatever. I got lots of friends. Khabib proved it in the ring. That's the point I was trying to make. You prove it in the ring, follow it up outside the cage. That's a 2-step. Go ahead, Eugene.
Yeah, so I got plenty of friends who are murderers. I'm not saying it's the worst thing you could be. I have to say I don't have any friends who are rapists that I know, and I just that would be on the top of my list. I'm going to say something about
you can recover from rape. You can't recover from murder.
Some people don't need to recover.
It's true, but I've had friends raped. I've been sexually abused, and I've had friends murdered, and I know who still calls me and who hugs me, and that I've done a lot of things after I was sexually abused. And if I had been murdered, that would never have happened. That's all.
Yeah.
So rape is murder, and murder by rape then would be the top.
Yeah, they're all low-life scum. I mean,
There you go. Anyway, my point is, first of all,
I'm trying to bring people together, baby.
Yeah. The rapists and the murderers, fans. I'm gonna, No, I'm gonna have to say that I think that Khabib should, he's a known associate, almost quasi friend of Knuckle Up, but I'm gonna have to say that he needs to slow his roll just a little bit, because if I'm sitting at home right now and I'm Mystic Mac and I'm watching that film, I'm not nervous at all. I'm not nervous at all. Khabib's fucking stand-up is fucking subpar is strong, but it's not there. Nice keeping the hand up, keeping the head, answered the phone, keeping the hand by the ear. But the reality of it is, it's not going to be enough. Can you wrestle mug Conor McGregor to the ground? Well, since Nate Diaz, he's actually been putting in the time for ground stuff, right? So you're going to pit him against a cage and ground to pound him. Guy's kind of rangy. Could pop back up. It could be a very easy transition for him to make. But you getting better with your stand-up.
Getting the fight is the win. Getting the fight is the win.
Of course. Well, I'm going to say
he has the potential to do both, win and get the fight and win, but just getting the fight is a win.
Given Dagestani pride that this is the kind of guy, if he loses, he could be in the hinterlands. He's not the kind of guy who's going to lose and go, oh, well, at least I got the check. That's not part of his fucking mental makeup. He's now turning to Captain Ahab, and it's like McGregor after he got beat by Nate. It had never – he got the cold wind of Providence turning its back on him and was like, this can't happen again. Like Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan's a prime example. You know why Joe Rogan's a lifelong martial artist? He himself ties it into a horrible incident of bullying when he was a kid, and you just decide that shit's not going to happen again. That's why many of us here, I say similarly with me, some shit happens, you go, that happened for the last time.
There's something that happened, a huge leak that occurred that is reminiscent of a previous one. And so I'm going to ask you, Nate, you are a member of the, quote, world's largest sex and swinger community, end quote, also known as adult friend fighter. The Verge reported that over 300 million accounts were breached in a massive hack, including current and deleted user email addresses, passwords, usernames, IP addresses, and browser information. How do you publicly and privately prepare for your potential purgation?
Well, first up, get right with your nearest and dearest. My wife doesn't forgive, but she knows that I'm a hopeless sexual fuck up. So it's no news to my wife that I've done stupid things like sign up for shit like Adult Friend Finder and Ashley Madison. We've been through that. That's our business, and fuck you, anybody who wants to judge us for what we do in our bedroom. Again, repeating, fuck you. If you want to judge us, walk in our shoes.
We gotta stop Nate. We gotta save her from himself. Stop talking.
No. I mean, the people I care about know this shit, and everybody else, again, fuck you.
Yeah, well, they know about it now too. So
yeah,
exactly.
And the other part of it is publicly, we've had this ridiculous dichotomy. I mean, the hypocrisy going back to the beginning of the Christian era is just ridiculous. Everybody fucks, everybody makes babies, everybody has nasty parts, everybody likes sex. Some people have it under control more than other people. Not everybody likes sex. Some people don't, and they're just made that way, and that's okay too.
Friend of mine told me not everybody's you, Eugene.
Exactly. Yeah. But those of us who are this way and for whom sexual expression is a huge and an essential part of our life, we have to stand up for ourselves and be honest and treat people right and say, hey, sorry, I like to get my freak on, and fuck you, I'm still a good citizen. I smoke pot.
Sweet Kid Nate.
Yeah,
you like get my freak on. Sweet Kid Nate.
Yes, exactly. I mean, that's the thing. We're in an area where you're not going to have privacy anymore. It's not the old days when you could pretend to be a family loving home, dad. It's not the 60s. Like in the 60s, you could be, Fellowship of Christian Athletes president in Indianapolis and fly to New York City and get your thing on at Plato's Retreat or all the gay sex spas you wanted to, and nobody be any the wiser.
Continental baths.
Yeah, and now everybody knows what you're doing, and the people on Adult Friend Finder should be glad it's just that information, and not say all the video transcripts of every time they've ever had cyber sex and all the other shit and every horrible. We don't know if it's the chat transcripts out there yet.
Oh, just wait.
But just keep in mind, we're going to have to carve out space to have sexual freedom. We've been fighting this fight since the 60s, since the 1860s. I mean, people have been fighting this fight. People are sexual animals, and we're trying to figure out how to control that. And sex is totally dangerous. We learned in the 60s that free love is not just an unadulterated good. Free love gave a lot of hippie rapists license to do monstrous things, and that's why I'm also a fan of Andrea Dworkin and the radical feminists. I mean, there's a back and forth here. All right,
what's your take, Eugene?
I'm gonna slight. There's a little
you
bit
in
of
the hack, Eugene?
Well, no, there's a southern.
Yeah,
Sure. Because for 12 years I ran skullgame.com as a porn site, and they were one of my #1 advertisers.
I just did it to make money, says Eugene.
Yeah, hey, I can say that about so many different things.
But you're also a recovering sex addict.
Yeah. Who says who?
You.
I don't remember that. This is the age of Trump, like I told you. This is my
seen
time.
It on CNN.
It's my time.
MMA fighting.
That is a damnable lie. I have no memory of this. So, but I think there's a southern morality that you bring to bear, which I'm fine with that. But in actual fact, I like that I've gotten myself into a position in life where there's a lot that people could tell you about me that wouldn't surprise you at all. And I think ideally that's a mark of a life well lived, that you just get yourself to the point where, I mean, at one point somebody said to me, a friend of mine said, the guy who produced the first 2 Oxbow records said, Eugene, you know, anybody could tell me anything about you and I'd believe it. And I go, that's disturbing, man. I might need a character witness at some point. You know, I have fucking lines, you know, like I have lines like
rape.
If it violates my sense of fair play, it's out. Like kids, you know, but largely anything else, how would that surprise you? Is that going to surprise you? It's not going to surprise you.
Coprophagia?
Well, speaking of surprises,
I'm not so big in the poop either. So.
Well, okay. Eugene, you're a Democratic celebrity.
And everybody connected to me goes, thank God.
Yes. You're a Democratic celebrity, Eugene. During a 2016 presidential election postmortem, Michael Moore told CNN's Don Lemon, quote, Democrats need to start running people who are inspiring. The Republicans, they run Ronald Reagan. They run Schwarzenegger. Why are we running Tom Hanks or Oprah? I don't say that as a joke. Why don't we run people that are beloved by the American people, end quote. What PR moves can you make to dodge the 2020 presidential draft without being blamed for destroying the Democratic Party?
Well, you know, who's the cat who's going out with Gwen Stefani?
He's big and we should know, but we're ignoramuses and don't.
The country dude. Anyway,
yeah, there's a big country star that dates
something with a B in his name. That they got to get that guy to run, right? Because first of all, there hasn't been a Southerner on the ticket in God knows how long, and second of all, people are hip. You know, Jay-Z does a concert, Beyonce does a concert, Taylor Swift is wearing Hillary's shit, and you know, large portions of America go, I don't fucking care. I don't care. Don't care. I just don't. You and your limousine driving, you know, we just don't care. We don't care. So I mean, what the DNC needs to do is they need to turn. Sorry, he's been tweeting out my articles, and I love the guy.
Blake Shelton.
Thank you. I knew it was with a B, so Blake Shelton. But yeah, I've said for years that if Bruce Willis were to run, that Americans are fundamentally kind of easily duped by this kind of stuff. You know, Jennifer Aniston could run for president, and she would have a good deal of cachet. She opens her mouth and says anything about foreign policy. People like, yeah, she's got some basis for. She's got some basis for what? She could read lines off of paper. Got it. What do the rest of them do? So I think that realistically, I love her. I love it.
No, seriously, Oprah. She could fucking run and win. She could run and win.
And what we've learned is, I was talking to my kids last night about it. It's charisma. It's charisma. She's
commitment.
Yeah, right. To go through the process as well as charisma, because
perceived commitment. Yeah,
charisma creates the illusion that you actually know the person.
Right.
There's no way that after 30 years of public life, that going into the Democratic National Convention, that people should still be that she should still have to lay the case, make the claim for who it is that she is. This shouldn't be something that she. Can you think of anybody who's been around for 30 years who has to make? I mean, if I mentioned to you Arnold, you got a pretty good idea of exactly what I mean. You know, you could talk about him like he's a friend of yours, right?
Exactly.
And so I don't know that speaks well of the process, but I think what they need to do is say, I love Howard Dean. He's tweeting out my articles, but you can't give that guy the chairmanship. You can't.
No. And also because Howard sold people out and lobbied for healthcare interests and terrorist groups. And so he's done. But Keith Ellison, on the other end, people are misreading the identity politics. Like some people are watching this and saying, Oprah in this racist nation, well, we just elected Obama. And Oprah has literally hundreds of millions of white women who are deeply racist who would walk through fire for Oprah. Who believe everything Oprah says. You know, people can overcome these identities if they think you're on their side. Like the liberal redneck who I'm a fan of, Trey Crowder, the comedian, he thought rednecks would not vote for Donald Trump because here's this New York Yankee douche nozzle asshole. Well, he was a Yankee New York douche nozzle asshole who's speaking on their behalf, who's fighting for them. And that's what people reacted to. That can overcome anything. If you can forge that bond.
And is that why, Nate, it brings us to Wanda Sykes?
What's he laughing at?
I'm sorry, D-Man just said, he goes, Conor's fights made shitloads more money than Ronda's, and if Ronda wins, I think she takes her ball and goes back to the Golden Corral.
Quite possibly, but no, in terms of web traffic, Ronda whipped his ass. That's
so Nate, if you're Wanda Sykes, in wake of connecting, at a TD Garden Cancer fundraiser last Saturday in Boston, your comedy set included your thoughts on the U.S. presidential election results. Quote, I am certain this is not the first time we've elected a racist, sexist, homophobic president, end quote, said Sykes during her set, a video which came out, which also said, quote, he ain't the first one, he's just the first confirmed one. Thousands of boos blanketed the arena, and you replied by flipping off and F-bombing the crowd. How do you use the video and the press coverage to turn your frown upside down?
Well, she runs to her base. She says, look, I'm not dealing with these racists. I'm telling it like it is. And notice, people didn't boo her for saying Trump was racist. The audience was full of people who are happy to accept that. It was they couldn't let go of all the hypocrisy of not wanting to admit that, like FDR, who's in many ways a great, great man, was a horrible, horrible racist and anti-Semite. And what he did to the Japanese people was literally a war crime. And yet, in the balance, I'm glad we had FDR. Like, people want to throw out George Washington because he owned slaves, which is an unforgivable sin for a human being. But for a public figure, that's a whole different thing. There's an old Roman maxim that the best country would be hanged if it were a person for the crimes it commits. If you're in that office,
who said that?
It's a Roman quote. It goes back to the Roman.
That's great.
And if you're in the chair of the president, you're going to be killing people. That's the deal. You're going to be committing sins that would rightfully put any citizen in jail forever. But you're the president. You're not a citizen. As far as Wanda, she needs to step up because she's representing basically a whole. You know who knows America is racist? Like Dave Chappelle says, black people. Like Dave Chappelle and Chris Rock were not surprised to see this. But you can't just retreat into cynicism. I mean, you can, Eugene. But African Americans, from Malcolm X to Martin Luther King, and they paid a heavy price. But they won a lot of breathing space. Eugene wouldn't have been able to live his life without the sacrifices of Malcolm X and MLK. Am I wrong?
I'd have been able to live it, but not for as long as I have.
You wouldn't be able to have been what you've become without the space that they bought for you with their blood.
No, that's true. But I was thinking of something else specifically.
Yeah, and so and once I want to go. Yeah, and so with Wanda, she needs to stick to her guns and say, hell yeah, fuck that audience. I'm going to be a truth teller, and I'm going to keep. But she can't be fucking saying fuck you and walking off stage every time. She just needs to start to realize she's going to have to scale back a little bit, regroup, and rebrand and start over with smaller audiences who know what they're expecting, and then build from there. That's my advice for Wanda. Go hardcore.
Yeah, she doesn't want to end up being Cat Williams.
Fist fighting 11-year-olds and losing? No.
I like how each time the person gets younger. So
what do you think?
His ass kicked by a 7-year-old. I think, I come from a punk rock background, man. So if I have a whole audience of fucking people booing, you don't know how happy I am. I'm like, I don't know that Sykes comes from the background, but given that she's winning the trifecta, she's older, she's African American, and she's a lesbian, I think that she's got plenty of basis to flip people off anytime she feels like it. And it's like she's made. It's not. There's a certain point, and I can feel it myself. There's a certain point at which the Mike Tyson ethos becomes your ethos. What are you gonna do? What are you gonna do?
Yep.
I got $25 million in the bank. 60 years old. I'm probably not going to live another 30 years. What are you going to do? What are you going to do? We're going to take away my career? Up yours.
No, we don't know.
So it sounds like, since you brought the specter of Trump.
I don't know, but she could play Fire Island, Mykonos.
Oh, there's plenty of places where she can play and make money. But I got to throw a curveball. New feature. Kid Nate's heel turn. And this is where we're going to be on the lookout for Quislings and cucks for Trump. I'm going to be getting a cucks for Trump hat to put on during the segment. And it's not the only thing.
You have to explain that.
Yes. A cuck for Trump. Cuck means cuckold. It's people like me and Eugene whose wives have fucked other people.
Hey, I don't know that.
Yeah, well, you're divorced. Let's just, your ex-wife is out there somewhere, Eugene. And
ex-girlfriends, yes.
Ex-girlfriend, Well, either way, you're a cuckold. It's a sign of weakness. And the alt-right people throw that, you're a cuck. Well, fuck you. Whip this cuck's ass. That's my statement on that. However, when you've got somebody like Ted Cruz who stood up and said, Ted, Donald Trump is the worst lying thing ever. And then by election day, he's on the phone calling and begging people to vote for Trump. He's a cuck for Trump. Paul Ryan is in that same camp. Do not expect Paul Ryan to be a player in this administration. He's already kissed the boot of Donald Trump. So cucks for Trump. That's my thing. And the people to watch for, who's a cuck for Trump right now? Barack Obama, Hillary Clinton. You cannot go out there and say this is the most dangerous man to ever run for the U.S. presidency 2 weeks ago, like Hillary Clinton, and then election night come back and say, we've got to let the system work. And if you're Barack Obama saying the same shit, let me finish. You cannot say Trump is the worst thing that ever happens, but now that he's president, I'm going to be his closest personal advisor. Now, again, Obama may be getting some things done, but you are a cuck for Trump. Admit it. They've got shit on their face because they stood up and said, I'll never have this guy, and now they're working for him. They might accomplish great things. They might still achieve their goals, but their public face is permanently cucked because they've got Donald Trump's goo all over them, and they took it.
I don't know because with the Obama one, because I think that Dave Chappelle kind of
I get where Chappelle's
made a good point in the sense that if you have, and it kind of goes back to the concern you had last week when I talked about the specter of Reagan versus Trump, and you said, well, the thing with Trump is he represents such a departure from the system and this political spirit. I almost heard like do 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 a flag wave in the background. So the thing is, at the end of the day, what choice do you have when this person has been elected and your job is to enable a transition? What do you say? I'm not going to let him come in because
he should have said that before the fucking election. Then Hillary Clinton should not have been saying this is the most dangerous candidate ever. Because if you tell me that you're up against the most dangerous candidate ever and your response is to concede on election morning when you won the popular vote and then to just blankly endorse, I'm not listening to you anymore. Because
except for Hillary, but with Obama though,
with Obama,
you have to make a transition.
Obama was on the trail with Hillary saying the same shit. Okay, now we can argue about whether she went as far as he did, and that's my question. I'm not saying he's a cuck for Trump. I'm saying watch for signs of him becoming.
Okay, sorry, it sounded like you said he was, and I
no. I'm angry at him, and I see Obama a different way because I worked in Democratic politics, and I've viewed him as a neoliberal traitor since he lobbied for TARP. Okay, ask Chelsea Manning if he would vote for Trump or Obama. Okay, you know why Julian Assange campaigned for Trump and sabotaged Clinton? And he did. And maybe worked with the Russians to do it. It's because he's been under house arrest for 5 years because of the fucking Obama administration when all he was trying to do was blow the whistle on the abuses of the deep state. No, seriously, was Chelsea Manning fucking running some agenda? No, this was a soldier who thought it was his duty. I'm speaking of it as a his because that's what he was at the time. Now it's a she, and that's cool. But Bradley Manning, when he took that action, was like, I have evidence of brutal, horrific war crimes I've got to tell people, and I don't care what the cost is. And then he was tortured. The UN said that Chelsea Manning's being tortured, and Obama's response was, well, I've talked to the Pentagon, and they say he's not. That's like saying, some East German spokesman saying, well, we checked with the Stasi, and no, our prisoners are not being tortured. I mean, that's where a lot of people see Obama that are hardcore activists who are against not fundamentally Republicans, but are against the expansion of the surveillance terror state. Because like it or not, Trump may or may not be a fascist. Trump may be well-intentioned and he just flirted with fascism to get elected. But what we do know is that he's presiding over the biggest, most powerful war machine in human history, and the most powerful surveillance machine in human history. We've never had anybody with this kind of power to spy on people and kill people in history.
Well, since you're a Donald Trump expert, then Nate, if you're Donald Trump,
hardly.
When CBS News announced that your transition team has a quote new deal for African Americans with a quote plan for urban renewal end quote, initial resistance didn't come from the racist bullies who thought you'd sold them out. It came from Democrats who were outraged that your surrogates gave the 10-point plan to MediaTakeout.com, a black gossip website, instead of a traditional media outlet. Trump explained the PR behind this PR.
You know what this is? This is telling the people that he just destroyed that you have been destroyed, and I'll talk to you when I want something. He's telling CNN and Fox News and ABC News and all the rest of those assholes and the Washington, D.C. press corps, look, you know how many media endorsements I got? 1. You know who won? Me. Fuck you. This is a new media era, and you are done. And that's the message. That's what he's done. And I think it's genius. I think Trump and his media team. I mean, Bannon is clearly a fucking media genius. And Breitbart. I worked in online advocacy, and Andrew Breitbart was the most talented person in that field in my generation. I think he was evil. I think his life's mission was to keep black people from voting, but he was a fucking genius. And Bannon is also an evil genius. And if you like, I'm watching some of my Democratic activist friends say, "Oh, this Bannon's a clown. The real scare is Reince Priebus." Dude, Bannon and Trump just wiped their asses with Reince Priebus and the whole GOP establishment. Watch the new guys. It's Peter Thiel and Steve Bannon. Those are the scary guys to watch.
So what do you think, Eugene?
I'm sorry, about what?
The media takeout release.
We're on the same wavelength, because I was going to ask, like, what do you think, Eugene, about
No, Nate went on for like 25 minutes, so I lost track of what was going on. Way back when he started talking, I just was like, He became Charlie Brown.
Yes, Mrs. Patterson.
He became Charlie Brown's teacher.
No, I became Charlie Brown as soon as I attacked Obama for being a cuck, and you didn't want to hear it. But am I right? Am I right about Ted Cruz and Paul Ryan being cucks?
No. Listen, you once you explained it to me, you were dead on. But what you said and what my friend said, who used to be the executive editor at Hustler, said our audience are truck drivers with 10th grade educations. Now I said, well, I can't accept that. There's smarter people in that. And you just said we have to do the show for the stupidest person. That in this instance could be me. It could be. Nate, are you okay?
Sorry, guys, I'm senior sitting my mom, and so I'm just telling her that if she waits 5 minutes, I can take her on a walk around the driveway.
Okay, all right. So we'll be speedy. So you got to understand your language is inflammatory. You could, the cucks for Trump. His name is freighted with such significance now that you can't just use it. It's like when I throw
hit. It's called heel turn. So.
Okay, good. And you changed it between now and yesterday, because yesterday was something else. It's part of your explanation, but it's still confusing. It's like when I throw Hitler as a quote point inside of a conversation, everybody's like, wait a minute. And they go back to, did you just quote Hitler with so it obscures the point. I like the point though. I like it, like who will play ball and who won't play ball. And it's like, I keep quoting this movie as of late, Mephisto, go back to Mephisto, see if it, ultimately, during the 1933, it was really super interesting. Those who chose to play ball, did it increase or decrease their fortunes? Given the ultimate destruction that ended up being Germany's, you have to say, did it pay? Jung, they had a great piece on Jung and about how he had been turned by Alan Dulles, but he immediately post the war was accused of being not just a fascist sympathizer, but a Nazi. I can't remember whether he stood trial, whether he was pretty sickly or was about to stand trial. But, in the wash, it comes out. Does resistance always pay off? Does it not pay off? There's a guy, Witkowski, a great Polish poet, who, made it through the Nazi years. When he heard that the Russian tanks were rolling into Poland, he was like, fuck it, I'm out. Killed himself, got in the bathtub, So the jury, I'm going to go with the bad brains on this one and just go, from my point of view, we will not do what they want to do, what they say. However, the cynical opportunist in me wants to do like the guy in Empire of the Sun. After he gets his head stoved in with a gun, he says to John Malkovich, I'm okay. And Malkovich looks at him and goes, and picks up the rock. You know, so I'm torn. I have these dual like going back tying the Wanda Sykes thing. You know, the punk rock instinct to go, yeah, well, go do whatever you got to do. And then the other thing, it's like, yeah, you know, I don't want to be that guy who's in the bathrobe in the rain crying as his house burns down. Why not take the short end money? Short end money sometimes becomes long end money. So I'm torn.
Moment.
Yep.
I mean, since you're torn and you're trying to suss stuff out, Eugene, you're a major news publication. A British parent penned an open letter on Facebook to Lego about its brand values clashing with an increasing circulation of the Daily Mail's headlines creating and having a go at gay judges. End quote. Lego responded on Twitter, quote, "We have finished the agreement with the Daily Mail and not planning any future promotional activity with the newspaper," end quote. With attention towards media complicity and dividing the citizenry, is it time to return to an elegant wording for a more civilized age, or is there too much money in being a wretched hive of scum and villainy?
Is this for me or for Nate?
That's for you, man.
No, I mean, you got it. Like I said, this is why the obscuring factor of Nate calling it cucks for Trump. Yeah, I think that language has a certain precision in this day and age, and that people are so tuned to it. They're over tuned to it. You know, people talk about dog whistles. People are hearing stuff that you just gotta. You know, I don't know if you remember that woman in Afghanistan, 26-year-old, you know, devout Muslim woman who was beaten to death by a crowd of 190 people because somebody said that she burned the Quran at the mosque, and when she was really just driving out the money changers from the temple. Mob, what is it? Who was it? Did you even quote that someday about how take the most intelligent people and so, I've just read this somewhere.
You take the most intelligent people, put 100 of them in a room, and they're as dumb as the stupidest person in the room.
Who says that?
That's an old thing. I know from the Romans, but I don't know. Somebody summed it up nicely.
Recently, yeah.
Yeah, but look at the history of the Gracchi brothers in Rome. These were basically the Kennedys of the Roman era. They tried to stop the system from becoming an empire, tried to do the reforms you'd need to do to maintain a democratic republic. They were essentially demagogues. They used the popular crowd as their tool to do that. They were both killed. I believe they were both killed by the crowd. Maybe one, maybe the other, because the crowd swings. And the whole history of Roman civil wars is one day the patricians would have the crowd on their side, the next day the plebeians would have the crowd on their side. And so
So it makes sense to parse your language. I mean, I'm such a lover of language. I'm completely okay with that. Parse your language carefully. And in regards to the Daily Mail and Lego, you know, Lego, it's a kid's company, man. You got to get the fuck out of that. No, you get out as quickly as possible. The idiot that kept you there longer than you should have been, fire that person. Fire that person at, what is that restaurant, Chili's, who took the meal away from the black veteran. Fire. You can't pussyfooting around. You just can't. If you've got a bottom line that you're concerned with, you cannot screw around.
Yeah.
Out ski.
And stick true to your brand. And stick true to your brand.
Yep.
Because otherwise you end up in the law.
Yeah, in the lost battalion. Well, I know you're trying to do the segue, but one point I want to get about Trump that connects to what Eugene said is everybody knows what Eugene is, who loves him, and they're ready to deal with that. Everybody knew Trump was a scumbag going in, and they were voting for him anyway. So telling them that Trump was a pussy-grabbing scumbag, that shocked a lot of people. But most voters were like, you know what? My husband's a pussy-grabbing scumbag, and he's raising my kids, you know, and he's mostly been an okay husband. You know,
hey, man, I don't like you connecting me.
Well, I'm just saying.
Does that, well, let's...
Oh, it is.
Speaking about connections, Eugene, it's time for your segment.
Yeah, you I mean, it pains my heart to be here now with you at this time when the commander-in-chief, the general, the woodpile meister himself, returns to the place that he knows best. And he did it in a style. I want to run the Black Gamma ad for him again. What becomes a legend most? And have Chris Weidman there and a nice black mink with a hatchet in his hand as he stands in the misty enclave of his woodpile. I mean, because at the end he said, well, it's clear they should have suspended him for a little bit longer. Oh, that was a problem. that was, I mean, you could see, I mean, Romero is not a genius, but he toyed with the guy. He came out and was like, you could see the first round, I do it here. Oh, I could build the guy's confidence. You know, he knows he gasses. He knows himself well, and he knew his opponent well. And you could see Weidman the first round, and he's like, oh, I'm okay. I deserve to be here. I'm back. I'm holding my own. And the second round, there were a couple of like leg picks and a couple of inside leg trips, and you could see the silver medalist. And he
rode his back too. That was when you saw that. I was like, oh Lord.
Yeah, and then the third round, you know, like John Lee Hooker said, boom, boom, the lights went out. And of course, who was it? Was it the ref? Was the ref Mergliata?
No, it was Mario Killam Yamasaki.
Exactly. So, that's right. So he gets the knee, and it's like you're waiting for. He's playing the anvil chorus. Oh my God, 5 shots, and then, but then the cherry on the pie, the cherry on the top, is the press conference. Where he says, "Man, this guy should have been suspended longer." And in that, it was like he ceased existing in the room. And like it was like, where'd he go? And you could just the mist, and you could hear his voice.
You saw the mist on the mat. I mean, on the octagon mat for the rest of the night. Like you try to think about something else, and you go back, they pan, and you see that pile of Weidman's blood. Yep. It was.
Yep. You couldn't see anything else. You know, if I could tell you how many people fucking tweeted me gifs of misty wood piles or what, it was, man. That's it, Jack. That's it.
And again, it's the combination of what he did in the cage and what he did at the press conference.
Right.
If he had just lost in the cage and not done the suspension bullshit, he'd be okay.
And then also the incredible silence from some of the loudest men in MMA, Matty Serra, Ray Longo. Not too much from them. You could ask those guys about cream pie, and they would have something to say. But suddenly, D&D.
What kind of cream pie are you talking about there, Eugene?
There you go. I got more out of it. I got more out. Okay. But see, that only means something to people who like yourself are deep, knuckle deep into porn. So
and not necessarily. And it's not porn where I learned that term. It's real life. So
I don't even want to know anymore.
Okay, well, if that's the case, thanks for joining us. Follow us on Twitter at Eugene S. Robinson, the Kid Nate, Alexi Old. Please give us a thumbs up, Eugene. Leave comments on YouTube. Subscribe to MMANation.com and YouTube.
I got in trouble today at 6 a.m. I got in trouble, but I'm going to ask you guys to see if the trouble was justified. If I tell you to tell me what CET is, can you tell me what that is?
CET? No. Yep.
Okay, it's a time signature. Could you tell me what that is?
Central Eastern Time.
Yeah, Central Established Time.
There's no such thing as Central Eastern Time.
No. Well, what's the fuck does CET stand for?
I put the Oxbow is playing Roadburn, and I put the announcement up, and I get some angry flowing emails about you were supposed to hold this to 2 CET. That's Central European Time, I guess.
Oh, man.
You know what? And that's the point at which I go, America. So.
Visit Bloody Elbow, read Eugene at Ozzy.com, and be sure to check out all 3 of us at Amazon.com. We'll be back next week with another installment If I Did It, and we don't know what we're going to be talking about yet because the PR mistakes have yet to be made.